The Jesus of history claims to be the very God in such a way that even the Quran acknowledges no man can claim the titles he claimed. When I said that one of the names of Allah is the truth, al-haq, and he is the life, and he's also the first and the last. Well, if you go to chapter 22, verse 6 to 7, there you're going to see the names of Allah pretty much plagiarized from what Jesus said prior to the Quran. You'd think, if I didn't tell you this is Allah speaking, you think that you're reading the Gospel of John, because what is said about God here, the Allah of Islam, is exactly parroted from what Jesus says in the Gospel of John, which comes 600 years earlier. Here, you'll see it. So chapter 22, verse 6 to 7 says, that is because Allah is the truth. Al-Haq, that's one of the names of Allah. And because he gives life to the dead. And because he is over all things competent. Now, here's an interesting part in verse 7. And that the hour is coming, no doubt about it, that Allah will resurrect those in the grave. See, only Allah gives life and resurrects the dead, and he's the truth. Well, if I go to the Gospel of John, chapter 5, Jesus said all those things, but he applied it to himself. If you open up John chapter 5, you're going to have to open up the entire chapter because we're going to look at verse 21. So now watch here. Now watch Jesus say what the Quran says of Allah, but he says it 600 years before Muhammad showed up. So who's plagiarizing whom? It's not Jesus plagiarizing Allah. Now watch here. If he goes to John 5, I'll open it up.
Verse 21?
Yeah, we're going to open up the entire chapter. For just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son gives life to whom he is pleased to give it. So Father and Son both give life. But in 25, if you watch verse 25, verily, truly I tell you. Now, this translation, NIV, says a time. The little translation is, an hour is coming. If you read it, it's an hour, because NIV is more of a paraphrase. So some Bibles do not translate literally, because in translating literally, you lose meaning. So they have to paraphrase. So this is a paraphrase. In fact, we Assyrians can relate. If I say, qatma barishuh, if you translate in English, and say, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how it is with languages. So sometimes you can't translate literally. You got to translate meaning. But literally it says, very truly I tell you, an hour is coming and has now come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, not Allah. The Son of God, and those who hear will live. Now 28:29 says something amazing, because the Quran says, the hour is coming, have no doubt about it, well, Allah will raise them from their graves. But who does that according to our Bible? Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Whose voice? The Son of God. So if I were to compare what Jesus says of himself with what was said about Allah, clearly Jesus claimed to be God, because the things Jesus says is ascribed to the Islamic deity, not to a prophet. So a prophet cannot speak this way if Islam is true. So what do they tell you? Your Bible's corrupt.